Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, I think we should just go ahead and get started for the sake of time, and we can record so that anybody who wasn't able to join can come and watch later from the recording. But it's great to see you, Christina and Orietta. I'm Tessa. So thank you so much for joining. We're really excited to share a bit more about the fellowship. So basically, the way it will work today is I prepared a short presentation about our work at TCC, what the fellowship entails, and then we'll have time at the end for questions, and we would love to also learn more about you all if you feel comfortable sharing. So I think we can just go ahead and jump in. So in terms of the agenda, we'll quickly introduce ourselves. And we'll go over TCC's mission, our work in general, and then go into more detail about our community-led development incubator program, which is our core program and really the main area where fellows support us. Then we'll go into detail about fellow responsibilities in general, because they kind of fall into a bunch of different buckets. And then finally, the expectations we have for fellows and really for our team overall. Great. So our mission at the Chain Collaborative is to co-create opportunities and strengthen capacities for community-led change in the coffee sector. So we were founded 9 years ago. Our founder's name is Nora. And we were founded based on the observation that in the coffee sector, there weren't really opportunities for local leaders within coffee communities to be designing and implementing their own development projects. Most projects were kind of a model that was maybe designed outside the country, or at least outside the community where it was taking place, and then kind of replicated across many different places. And so our real core belief is that the most sustainable and impactful solutions happen when communities are making their own decisions about where they'd like to direct resources. So the program fellowship is a 100% remote opportunity. And it's for people both from the coffee sector and for people outside the coffee sector who are really just interested in learning about coffee sustainability and community-led development. We really look for people who share our core values in terms of that local leaders are the best leaders for change within their own communities, but really we welcome people from a range of different backgrounds. I realized that Camille and I actually didn't introduce ourselves yet, so I think that actually might be helpful as I'm talking about like what brings people to the fellowship. It could be helpful for us to do that first. I'm Tessa. I'm the community-led programs lead and internal operations lead at TCC. So my main role is working on our community-led development incubator, which we'll get into, but I'm also responsible for kind of managing the team workflow. So fellows work really closely with me through weekly meetings and check-ins throughout the year. So yeah, I came to TCC 3 years ago through the fellowship myself. I'm originally from Cambridge, Massachusetts, but I was living for about 6 years in a coffee community in Nicaragua, and now I live in Costa Rica as of like a month. It's still weird to say I live here. But I was living in a coffee community in Nicaragua and really curious about sort of the history behind why there was so much inequity and exploitation in the coffee sector. So that's what brought me to TCC, in addition to always sort of following and learning about the community-led mission. So yeah, it's after I finished the fellowship, I was hired full-time. So I've now been on the team for about 2 years as a staff person, and I've really, really enjoyed working here. So I love the fellowship because it's kind of our way of meeting new people and getting new people involved. So thank you so much for your interest. And yeah, I'll let Camila introduce herself too.
Hi, everyone. I am Camila. I am from Quito, Ecuador. I live here. I also joined TCC as a fellow last year. I started in February last year. And after the fellowship ended, I joined the team part-time. I am the communications lead and programs co-lead. So basically in charge of all things communication, social media, website. And I also support with the incubator program, which Tessa will tell you more about in a few. And the different initiatives we work on, you will have a chance to see. I do have a background in coffee. I've been working in coffee for around 10 years now, mainly mainly focused on coffee quality. But I also have a background in communication, so this was the place where it all came together. So yeah, any questions you may have about the fellowship experience or anything, I am here to help.
Yeah, so we're a fully remote team. So the fellows are remote, but our entire team is remote. So I think it can be really flexible with people balancing other jobs, school, other volunteer opportunities. So I think that's kind of a really important value in our team as well, is that we all also have other projects and things going on in our lives, and we allow for a decent amount of flexibility. So I know most people who do the fellowship are usually working full time. What we do request, though, is that everybody commit 8 to 10 hours per week to the fellowship. So this does not need to be 100% during TCC work hours. So we work from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Thursday. So we only work 4 days a week. And a fellow, we would expect to be online during those hours, at least 5 out of the 8 to 10 hours of that time, so that we can be in communication. And also just being kind of really responsive to communications is really important. So, if the work has to get done at like a random time, that's totally fine. But just being kind of active and communicative with the team is something really important. So then, of course, everybody who completes the fellowship also gets to take all 3 levels of the SCA Coffee Sustainability program at no cost. If you've already taken any levels of the coffee sustainability program, we also have a sustainability reporting course, so there might be an option to be able to allow you to take that course as well. All right, so just a quick overview of what we do at TCC, because we do a lot. Our core program is this incubator program. Like I said, our real purpose as an organization is investing in local leaders and coffee growing communities to lead change within their own communities. So this is our core program. It's an 18-month program for local leaders to design and implement their own projects, and also develop their leadership skills and project planning skills. I'll describe it a bit more in a second. But since our model is really untraditional, we ended up developing a couple of earned income models to make the organization more sustainable and rely less heavily on company and foundation fundraising. So we offer consulting services both to companies that are looking to improve their sustainability strategy, but then also other nonprofits who are looking for support in their fundraising strategy. So we work with all different types of organizations. We've gotten to do a lot of really cool and challenging contracts with fair trade, with many different organizations. So I really think, even though it's sort of outside the scope of our core purpose, to me, it's really become an important part of our work separately. And I've learned a lot through our assignments there. And then, of course, we offer courses. So the SCA courses, and then the sustainability reporting course. And potentially there will be more in the future, but definitely the SCA courses are kind of like our bread and butter when it comes to education. And then finally, we have something called special projects that we're thinking of changing the name to collaborations, just to be a little bit more descriptive. But basically, this includes any other initiative that we're interested in getting involved in that feels aligned with our values, but doesn't necessarily fall neatly into any of these buckets. So, for example, we've supported emergency response funds for baristas in the US and for coffee farmers in Guatemala during COVID, or emergency response funds to hurricanes and other natural disasters. So we consider this to also be an important part of our work, that we like to be really open to different types of collaborations and supporting people who are doing important work in the sector. So now we're going to get into a little bit more detail about what the community-led development incubator is, because this is really the core program that our fellows support. So like I said, from our founding 9 years ago, we've been doing this work of investing in local leaders, but prior, we had always worked one-on-one with a very small number of leaders at a time. And we went through a feedback process about 3 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago, where we ask everybody kind of what are the strengths of TCC and what makes TCC a good partner, and then what are the things you would like to see differently. So on the strength side, really across the board, everybody shared that they felt that it was like that feeling of finding a partner who really believes in your vision. There's something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, and you finally found a partner who can kind of help you get it off the ground, whether the missing piece be funding, connections, or whatever else. And then, of course, the trust built was another really core piece of that we got feedback on. And then the piece that everybody asked that we shift was that they felt that we were missing the opportunity to be introducing all of the different local leaders we were working with. They knew we were working with other people, but we weren't creating any kind of co-learning or collaboration between the groups. And so we decided to restructure as an incubator program. So this actually worked really well with our own organizational strategy anyway, because we were looking to find ways to be more clear and more structured in the way that we described what TCC did. Many people perceived us as just being a pass-through, and it was really hard to describe the importance of like the trust and the relationship that was getting built. And so the incubator has kind of allowed us to really structure our work. So basically, it is an 18-month opportunity specifically for local leaders of either small organizations that don't yet have funding for their development work, or for more developed organizations, but that they would like to have an emerging leader take on more responsibility and be more confident with leading meetings on Zoom and doing different assignments related to project planning. So we really look for emerging leaders, either small organizations or within larger organizations, to participate. These organizations can be cooperatives. Oftentimes they are cooperatives, but they can also be nonprofits, social enterprises, or other types of informal networks, if we're able to find a fiscal sponsor to support them through. Really, we're open to working with all different types of groupings of people. We've worked with small farms that have the goal to support other farmers in their communities. So we're really flexible in terms of the type of organization we collaborate with. And I mentioned this too, in case you're thinking of like, we're recruiting right now for Latin America next year. We'll be starting the next cohort in April. So if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I know somebody who would be perfect for this, definitely we can share the application information for that as well. So the program consists of 3 phases. So the first is the learning and design phase. So this is kind of a 2-pronged phase where, on one hand, we're going through 6 sessions where we're talking each month about a different topic related to project planning. So learning how to use different frameworks, learning how to put together a monitoring and evaluation plan, different strategic tools for visioning for organizational growth. And each month, the organizations have an assignment that they have to move forward on, so that at the end of the 6 months, every group has a really full proposal for a project with a budget of up to $15,000 that they would like to move forward. So again, we're looking for organizations where $15,000 is a significant amount of money to be able to kind of be a launching pad into future activities. So at the same time, we do this over the course of 6 months because, one, everybody that we're working with has a ton of other things on their plate. So we want the incubator to be paced at a way that's realistic with everything that the leaders are balancing, but also to build trust in the relationship. And it's really important to us to, we don't take a typical top-down kind of trainer-trainee approach. And I think that's really important when it comes to who we're looking for in fellows. You'll find like we're really understanding when it comes to people, if they miss a meeting and they have to make up for it in another way, like we try to be really understanding and kind of build an actual relationship with everybody we work with. So it's less like get your homework done on the right date and more like let's work together so that at the end of the 6 months, there's a plan that everybody feels confident in at the end. So then moving on to the implementation stage, which is 9 months. Each organization receives the $15,000 to implement, and within their own communities, they are continuing to work on them. So during this time, we're only meeting every other month as a group, and on those calls, it's mostly sharing how things are going, what have the challenges been, continuing to build relationships between the leaders participating. And then our role as TCC is meeting monthly with each individual leader to get updates on projects, but then also provide individualized support. So throughout the entire incubator, we're meeting individually with every single group And I think this is really important because, and it's a key part of where fellows relationships come in, because each fellow will be assigned 2 or 3 organizations that they're responsible for managing. So this means kind of being on every single one of those monthly calls, really getting familiar with their project, providing feedback, providing thoughts, and then also kind of providing the mentorship or support that's requested by the group. So some groups will join the incubator with a very specific interest in improving their coffee business. Maybe they've never exported before. They're trying to improve the quality of their coffee to achieve a better price. And so they're coming to TCC specifically looking for help and guidance on their coffee. But other organizations are nonprofits or community-based organizations that work with children or women. And instead, they're coming to us more for other types of support, like maybe fundraising strategy, connections to, you know, other organizations doing similar work. So it really depends group to group, and depending on what your skill set is and what your interests are, we would really try to match you with the right organization. So yes, for example, Camila, who has like this amazing background in coffee, in the current Latin American cohort, we had, I think, yeah, the 3 groups that you worked with all decided that they wanted to do something very specifically focused on improving their coffee quality, whether it was technical assistance or infrastructure development. So we had Camila responsible for those 3 groups, and then the other that had more social environmental projects, we had our other fellow who didn't have a coffee background work with them. So we tried to really align interests in that way. And then finally, at the very end, the peer support phase. During this time, groups have 3 months to report on the impact of their projects. It's also a flexible time because most groups are finishing up their work. And then they join an alumni network. So we really didn't want to sacrifice the long-term relationships by switching to this model. And so we have an alumni network where people can continue accessing funding, courses, webinars, networking opportunities beyond the length of the incubator. Okay, so that was a lot about the incubator. I'm just curious if anybody has any questions that we could clarify before we go on to fellowship responsibilities. Okay, great. Well,
I had one question. It's nice to meet both of you, by the way. I'm really happy to be on the call right now. Do you guys provide all the funding? Do you do all the raising on your end? Or
yeah.
from TCT's end, essentially?
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we do a lot of work on fundraising. So some of it comes from coffee companies. So there will be times when like maybe a roaster has a specific group they want to support. And so then the support is kind of, there's like a direct link between the company that's supporting a producer group that they've worked with before. But usually most of our funding comes from companies and foundations that support TCC generally. And then we, you know, distribute it to the projects.
And then how many organizations are you guys usually working with at a time?
Yeah, so each cohort, currently the Latin American cohort was 6 groups, and then in East Africa it was 4 groups this year, which was primarily because of funding. But ideally we would have 6 to 10 groups in each cohort.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think so it's on the kind of a timeline, like a alternating timeline, where each year we're starting with one cohort from one region. So like, for example, this year we started with East Africa, and then next year we're starting with Latin America. So I think we're in a good position to be accepting probably 6 groups. And so yeah, just since it's coming up, one thing that we are kind of looking for in fellows, if we accept 3 fellows, we are looking for at least 2 to be comfortable enough in Spanish to build relationships with the organizations we're working with, just because they're, you know, supporting a lot on the management. So, you know, it's not to discourage anybody who's not bilingual, but it is definitely a strength if people are able. Great. Okay, well, let's jump into fellow responsibilities, and we'll have more time for questions at the end as well. So like I said, kind of the core responsibility is the incubator management. So this is scheduling monthly calls, taking notes. When I say project proposal development, that's primarily when For example, like maybe for a funder, we need to submit a clear description of exactly what their project is, but the final product that we ask from groups is more of a framework. So we would sometimes have a fellow draft like a short summary or proposal of a project. Next is data collection. So we are constantly trying to improve our processes for this, but basically we want to be keeping track of how many hours we're spending with each group, what are the topics coming up during our conversations. And so we have a spreadsheet that can be updated after every call, and that's something that we ask for fellows to help us with. And then also reporting. So we have standard reports that we prepare. Currently, we're preparing them annually, but we're planning for next year to have quarterly updates that we can share with our funders. And then we also occasionally have reports to put together for consulting partners. So if somebody is like particularly strong with writing or likes writing, then they might have more kind of reporting responsibilities. Next is research and analysis. So this is more leaning towards our consulting work. Typically, our consulting work is led by Nora, our founder, and then Carolina, who's not here because she lives in Spain, so it's very late there. But typically, if a fellow were to get engaged, it would be primarily with research. So like if they knew, I think it's helpful to give examples of tasks. So for example, we had to do a analysis of 5 different supply chains in southern Mexico for a project this year. And then we had to, within each of those, analyze like 10 companies, I think it was, for their carbon commitments. And so we split it up between the whole team. Everybody had like 5 companies or something to look into. And so that's kind of the sort of thing that a fellow might support on. It would never be like a full consulting project. It would be kind of a piece or a research component of a larger project. And then finally, with communication, so that's Camila's responsibility, and so you'll be working closely with her, but this is mostly social media updates. So since you're the ones working most closely with the organizations in the incubator, providing Camila with just short written updates so that she can include them on our social media. So these are the overall buckets of responsibilities that come up. Like I said, I can guarantee everybody will be working on the incubator, but then everything else sort of depends on your interests and your skill set. So, you know, if you really hate writing, then we wouldn't be assigning you a bunch of report drafting. But if you know, really enjoy social media and have creative ideas about how we can do it better, then you would probably be working really closely with Camila on that. So it really depends on your interests. And then just to go quickly over our fellowship expectations. So these I think apply to our entire team, but I think they're worth going over just so everybody kind of knows what they're potentially getting into. The primary thing is that we really expect everybody on our team to have respect for and deference to our local leader partners. So this is really, really important. We have to be constantly, you know, checking each other and making sure that we're all staying true to this, but, you know, not trying to push or influence our partners in any way, and really listening to their visions for change. That's our core purpose as an organization. So I would say that's number 1. And then second is having respectful and honest communication. We're a really transparent team. We'll be meeting every single week. So we really ask that if people, for example, know this week I'm like have way too much going on at my job or at school or whatever else, letting us know in advance so that we can kind of distribute tasks amongst the rest of us and not get into a corner. So we try to be really communicative with each other. Next is strong time management. Again, since we know everybody balances the fellowship with other things, it's important to kind of be available for communication, and then also, you know, complete your tasks on time. Just as an idea for workflow, usually we'll meet once a week as a team. And then I would assign you like, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 tasks, depending on how intensive they are. And they would be due for the following week. So we usually, like, it's pretty rare that I would ask a fellow to do something last minute. It's usually, you know, you have a whole week to kind of organize your time and figure out how it's going to fit into your schedule. Next is a good teamwork and mentality for taking on a whole different range of tasks. An open mind for constructive feedback. As part of the fellowship, we'll have like 3 review periods that are really just informal conversations to provide feedback, both us to fellows, but then also fellows to the team if there's anything we can do to improve the experience. And then taking initiative. So this is obviously true in any job, but we really appreciate when our fellows, notice a gap, or maybe there's something we said that we wanted to do and we haven't moved forward on it, and kind of taking the initiative to do that is always really valuable. We're a super small team and we're still growing. Just like before I joined the team, it was our founder, Nora. So it's only been 3 years that we've been kind of in this growing stage. And so, we really appreciate seeing fellows who kind of observe gaps and create plans to improve them. So as an example, our current fellow, one of our current fellows, Bemlock, we had been talking about wanting to create this alumni network, and like the months were passing and we really had not created any planning around it, and we needed it by August to be ready to present to the organizations finishing the current incubator. And she put together, just on her own initiative, she had a light week of work and put together like a work plan with some brainstormed ideas of what an alumni network could include. And we just like loved that. It was really, really great to see that she noticed that we hadn't moved forward on it, and that kind of gave us the momentum to pick it up and have it ready in time. And then, just lastly, the committing the 8 to 10 hours a week, and being communicative, about when there's other challenges, and just knowing that the 3 levels of the courses are dependent on fellowship performance. So nobody has ever not been able to complete the courses. We've always had positive experiences and we're really understanding and can talk through most things, but I think it's worth mentioning that, it's throughout the fellowship that you're moving forward also in the SCA program. All right, so like I said, we're a very small team. We have 4 staff members, so Camila and myself, Nora, our founder, and then Carolina, who works on consulting and other programs, our current fellows. And then Itzel, who was part of our first Latin American cohort, is now leading our alumni network. So she will be really active part of the team for this next year. And then we also have a few partners we work with on collaborations, on consulting, and on courses. So they're also, on our Slack and in communication with us about projects. Great, so that's everything I had prepared to go over. If anybody has any questions, we're happy to provide any more information. I realized I didn't include on here sort of the timeline. So applications are due November 18th, and then after that, we would reach out for an interview before starting the fellowship in February. So we're expecting to accept 3 fellows this year. And yeah, we'd be really happy to see any of you apply. Any other questions?
Hi, thank you for the call. My name is Janina. Yes, well, I came a little late because my link wasn't working, but I wanted to ask, it really is not important background that you have, obviously, right? But is there, like, apart from obviously being bilingual, being a plus, is there something else that you can like add to your profile that will give you some advantage to choose things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, we're really open to any background and experience that you might have. I mean, I think, like I said, being bilingual is definitely a strength, so that we can build relationships with our upcoming Latin American cohort. But to us, it's really more about value alignment. I think having experience, either working remotely or working in a team environment is really positive. But in terms of like different types of professional experience, I think that we're open to a lot of different backgrounds because we have so many different projects we need support on, so we can kind of direct your support to where we need. I don't know, Camila, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think same. Carolina was in this morning's call talking about how she didn't have like any background in coffee. She's a journalist, background in communication and writing, and she just was very interested in learning more about coffee development, community-led development, and this was perfect. So yeah, it's more what like Tessa said, like more to be value aligned than the rest. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I had two questions. One question, so for the application, for the references, you need 4 in total, right? Because I know it's mentions 3 and then at the end there's an additional, so I wanted to make sure it's 4.
Oh, sorry. I think it's 3. I should look at that.
Is it 3?
Yeah,
I just know at the bottom it said additional required and it was another, well, I guess it's 4 references and 1 letter of recommendation. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I misread that. Sorry about that.
No.
My other question too. So I saw the cohort is, or the incubator is 18 months. Is the program 18 months or is it 10 months? For some reason, I felt like I saw 10 months, but I wanted to clarify that.
Yes, great question. That's funny. I included the timeline for the incubator, but not for the actual fellowship. So the fellowship is 10 months. It will be from February through November of next year.
February through November. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I just looking at the application quickly. So the person who provides you with a letter of recommendation can be one of those references. So it can be 3.
One of the references.
Yeah, 1 professional, 1 academic, 1 volunteer, and then one of those people can provide the letter. If you're looking at this and you're like, I don't have anyone I can ask for a volunteer recommendation, but I have, 2 academic or 2 professional, that's definitely okay. We like the 3, just, they provide different perspectives, but, we're flexible in terms of what the relationship is.
Okay. Yeah, the academic, I haven't been in school in a while, so I was like, I have to reach out to some teachers I haven't talked to in a while.
No, if it's not relevant, just switch it for somebody who you think would be more relevant to your current experience.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Arieta. I just have one question about with the incubator. You said that there has to be a project, right? The project will be individual or as a group of the fellowship?
Okay, this is a really good question. So the incubator itself is for local leader participants in coffee communities. So it's separate from the fellowship. So they'll have their projects. As part of the fellowship, you are completing the 3 levels of the coffee sustainability program, and the professional level of the coffee sustainability program includes the development of a project. So those projects will be individual, depending on, what is most relevant to you. I think, Camilla, you're doing a research project, right?
On
For yours.
green coffee defects. Yeah.
So, the project that you decide to move forward can be really distinct, but those projects that are fully funded by TCC are not for fellows. Those projects are with the local leader participants that we support in coffee communities.
Okay, gotcha. I think I was just like confusing with the TCC program, the incubator, and with the fellowship. So yeah, thank you.
Totally get it. Great. Well, if there's no other questions, if anything else comes up, please don't hesitate to email us. Our emails are just our names at thechaincollaborative.org. The application is available to download from the website. But really, I hope everybody decides to apply. It's really great to see you all. And yeah, we're here with anything you need. So please reach out. And if you think of anybody who you think would be a good fit for the incubator, so again, local leaders of small organizations within coffee communities, we're also recruiting for that simultaneously, so feel free to reach out to us with ideas as well.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you guys. You're so lovely, and I think one group of like a local leader will be member of the IWCA. I'm from IWCA Honduras.
Oh, cool.
So that will be a nice project.
Yeah, we'll share the application with you. We one of our fellows, Bamlak, works with IWCA in Ethiopia, and it's been really cool to get to see the kinds of projects that they lead. So yeah, definitely we'll send you the application, and if you think it's a good fit, they should apply.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.